Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one.
Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello and welcome back to Everything Possible in Dark Souls 3. Last time we began our adventure into the first of the Dark Souls 3 DLCs, the Ashes of Ariandel. We took out some wolves, we fought a very large wolf, and we took out some Millwood Knights. But let's look at the gear we'll be using today. I have the Follower Javelin upgraded to +9 and infused with Chaos, and you can see I have some pretty good fire damage going. I also have the Millwood Greatbow upgraded to +4. I have the Witch Tree Branch, which will only be used in a couple of situations. Millwood Great Arrows, I was able to buy more because I did give the Captain's Ashes to the Shrine Handmaid. The Ethereal Oak Shield upgraded to +5, which I will tell you was a complete accident. I meant to stop at 4. And the Pyromancy Flame upgraded to +10. I'm wearing the Millwood Knight Helm, the Robe of Prayer, Follower Gloves, and the Follower Boots. I did farm for the complete Follower set. I'm using Havel's Ring, the Fire Clutch Ring, the Knight's Ring, which is important because I wouldn't be able to wield the Millwood Greatbow without it, and the Hawk Ring, which is going to benefit both the weapon art of the Follower Javelin and the Millwood Greatbow. And here you can see I'm using some black fire bombs, not rope fire bombs. I've learned my lesson, and a couple of other consumables. Now if you want to take a look at my stats, go ahead and pause the video now. Oh, before we go, let's take a quick look at the spells we'll be using. I have Great Combustion, Black Flame, which I still won't be using, Hidden Body, which doesn't work, not in this situation at least, and Great Magic Shield, which I will use and then roll around instead of blocking. Now that we've had that covered, let's go ahead and run across this rickety wooden bridge towards that cathedral we saw in the distance last time. Absolutely stunning vistas in this DLC. Taking a look below the bridge, you can see these tangled roots making their way down that cliffside. That is where we'll be heading today. I'm really glad there's no drakes that are flying around. Dark Souls 2 gave me a little bit of concern when I was crossing this bridge. And then before we actually head into the chapel, if we attack the bridge, you can see it starts to collapse. This is very similar to the bridge just before the High Lord Wolnir fight. Once it's fully collapsed, we can actually use it as a ladder. We do have these Corvians here, and while they don't have any dialogue, they are not hostile, so I'm just going to go ahead and run past them. And before we go into the cathedral or talk to that NPC, we're going to run around the side and grab a hollow gem. We'll be talking more about hollow later on in this series because some of the weapons in this DLC work really well.
Well, well. You're Lady Uria's Lord of Hollows. No bell tolls, and yet you've slipped into the painting. Oh, no matter. If you've lost your way, the words of Lady Friede will guide you. Now, go on inside, show respect, and listen carefully.
We did get some unique dialogue because we followed Uria's questline and we are now technically the Lord of Hollows. We're going to see that with Sir Wilhelm, who we just spoke to, and coming up, Sister Friede. Inside the cathedral, we do have this door on the right. It doesn't open from this side, so we'll of course be opening that from the other side a bit later on. We're going to light the bonfire, and even before we talk to Sister Friede, we're going to take a quick pause and look at this statue. This statue, and I'm sorry I couldn't find a really good image from Dark Souls 1, but this is an identical statue, barring the head loss, from Dark Souls 1.
Welcome to the Painted World of Ariandel. I am Friede. I have long stood beside our Blessed Father and the rest of the forlorn. But forlorn thou seemeth not, Lord of Hollows. I know not the missteps which led thee to this painted world, but thy duty is all, and thy duty lieth elsewhere. Return from whence thou camest. I presume it visible to thee? The bonfire here in this room. A meek and faded thing, but 'twill guide thee nonetheless. Ah yes, there is a thing thou shouldst by rights possess. A remembrance of this cold world for the great Lord of Londor. May it help thee bear thy duty. Now, return from whence thou camest. Thou'st a place in that world, and that alone is cause to rejoice.
we got the Chillbite ring for talking to Sister Friede a second time. The Chillbite ring will increase our frost resistance by 140 points. This ring would never grace Friede's hand, for the painting and its frost became her home. Now Friede is one of the 3 sisters who are also founders of the Sable Church. We have Friede, we have Yuria, and then we also have another sister who's only mentioned by name, and that's Lillian. We'll be talking a little bit more about that again as we go through this DLC.
Lady Friede has spoken, has she not? Then tarry no longer and be gone. Carry on. For Lady Yuria and for Londor.
Once again, getting a little bit of unique dialogue because of the choice we made to follow Yuria's questline to its completion. In order to get those, you don't actually have to have beaten the game, but you do have to have sacrificed Anri in your game. At that point, you are considered the Lord of Hollows. So now we're going to descend this ladder because we want to make our way to the very bottom, the very depths of the painting. We are going to fight the optional boss here, but first, we do have some twisting and turning routes to go down, which can be a little bit treacherous, especially if you don't go about it in the right order. You can see here we do have a Farron Follower directly below us, which is kind of encouraging us to drop down here. But what I suggest is actually run straight ahead, drop down, you'll take some fall damage, because we have a Millwood Knight who is wielding a great bow. You can hear another one off in the distance. If we don't take care of this one, he's going to make life very difficult as we traverse down the routes. So here I am using the Great Magic Shield, which again I won't use, I'll just roll around him. And instead of hitting him, or even going for the backstab, I wanted to get his attention because if you knock him down, he won't die. He just lands on a platform below, and unfortunately that makes things a little bit more difficult yet. Once he pulls his hammer out, then it's just a matter of dodging, because even if you try to use your shield with Great Magic Shield, it takes so much stamina to block, it's really not worth it. Risking it. Oh, that was a close one. But I'm alive. But only barely. He dropped for us a large Titanite shard, and now we actually have a good vantage to take out the other Millwood Knight. Now you can see he is quite a distance away, and using a great bow, especially the one that has the lowest range of any in the game, it could prove difficult. Except for the fact that the Hawk Ring does a great job at extending the range. Now, is it possible that other bows would be able to do more damage per hit? It's possible, but you know what? I got the bow, I bought the arrows, so why not? In fact, it doesn't even take that long. Okay, granted I sped this up about 300%, but you get the idea. And once again, without doing this, it can be very difficult to safely get down this root system. Showing you one way, we could just walk straight forward, but there are a couple of Farron Followers and there's a crystal lizard that we don't want to miss out on. So instead we're going to use this route to go back to the top. And we're going to go back to that one Farron Follower that we saw. Sitting on the root just below these rocks. All we need to do is simply walk off and then turn in the air, and we can get a plunging attack on him. Easy. And he was kind enough to drop some follower gloves. That piece of armor took me the longest. And now we can use the weapon art of the javelin to its full potential. 2 hits later, and I fall to my death. Let's try that just a little bit differently. Once again with the plunge attack. Next, we're going to use the Millwood Greatbow. This one does not have any forward momentum. But seeing as it doesn't kill him, it's time to take him out with a flourish. Was that necessary? Not even a little. From here, going up does not lead us anywhere. That's just another method of getting down. You can see we do have a crystal lizard ahead. This is the only time you're going to see me use Hidden Body, just so I can get a little bit closer. And sadly enough, this is also the only time you're going to see the Pierce Earth weapon skill of the Greatbow. And it was completely unnecessary, but kind of cool. He does drop a Twinkling Titanite for us. Starting to move forward, this is where we are going to run into a couple more of the followers. One straight ahead with the javelin, and then one with the shield and javelin right here. So we're going to grab his attention, nearly kill him with a single headshot. And a poke for the win. Next, just walking carefully around the edge. Baiting this next attack here. Listing lazily to the right, and weapon art. Trade blows, and he is dead. We do have the Ember. We just have one more enemy here, another follower, this time with the torch. I was really hoping that a well-connected headshot would send him reeling. Oh, not enough, and it almost killed him, but he is going to try to path his way up to us. He is going to give up. All we need to do is be a little bit patient. As he goes back to his original position, with an arrow sticking straight out of his skull. Finish him off with a well-timed arrow. Now we're going to carefully walk onto this route, and instead of going down, we have one more item to collect. So we're going to walk a little bit past where we want to drop. Land right on this route, and we get the Follower Saber. The Follower Saber, while it is considered a curved sword, it does have a kick animation instead of the backflip, which I definitely prefer. I love the kick for breaking people's guards. The weapon art is the prying wedge, which is really good for breaking people's guards, and it can also be comboed with a heavy attack. So you could break someone's guard, followed up with a very quick and powerful heavy attack for a lot of damage. It's a good quality weapon. It works really well with the refined infusion, although it was nerfed just a little bit, but it also, like the javelin that I have, it works great with some of the elemental infusions, especially Chaos, which gets a double A scaling in both intelligence and faith. From here, we just need to very carefully and slowly make our way down the remaining routes. Up there, you can see that is where the one follower was, but there's nothing there. We also have a crab off in the distance. Why there are crabs in the bottom of this painting, I have no idea. We get a large Titanite shard from that other Millwood Knight that we took out with the bow. Now straight ahead, that is where we are going to encounter our boss, which we will be taking on next. What I don't want to do here is rest at this bonfire, just because I don't want the Millwood Knight actually attacking me as I make my way towards the boss. So instead, all I'm going to do is first beautify myself, because no one wants to go into a boss fight when you're hollowed. Now I'm just going to make my way over. This boss can be really difficult or fairly inconsequential depending on how you take it. We're going to fight a multi-enemy boss, a humanoid, and a giant wolf, and you can probably already guess what giant wolf that is. Remember when I said hidden body didn't quite work? Well, this is when it didn't quite work, and I should have known because this is a boss encounter, and they typically have much higher detection rates. But I was hoping to just get a single snipe, which at least I was able to get before the champion's Gravetender and his other two wolves would come after me. The goal here is to take the wolves out very quickly. So a great combustion and a poke. And a great combustion. And a poke, and now we just have the Gravetender. The Gravetender is using a weapon that we haven't seen before called the Valor Heart. We'll be talking a lot more about that once we actually get it at the end of this fight. The idea here is that he has a shield equipped, and it's almost always in use. Almost every time he attacks, it is at least partially raised, which means we're going to be doing reduced damage. One of the best methods that I found using the javelin is that instead of using the weapon art, and instead of poking behind my shield, I actually two-hand it and do a charged R2, and the timing, as long as it's good, will cause him to lower his shield at the last second for me to get a really good poke. Not that one. Trying to bait an attack here so I can show it off. Not that one, although still 193 points of damage through his shield is pretty good. That's the damage that I'm looking for. What we need to consider, though, is that at about 50% HP, he is going to summon the Gravetender Great Wolf. That is the wolf we've been fighting throughout the Ashes of Ariandel. One of two things can happen when he approaches 50% HP. You can either hit him through 50%, which means he's not going to do the summon animation and the wolf will still appear, or you can get him right up to the line, which is what I'm trying to do, and then he's going to do a gesture which will allow you to get a free backstab. Doing that will reduce his health so significantly that you can then finish him off fairly quickly once the wolf is summoned. There's the backstab, you can hear the wolf coming, and you can see we almost have him. Now, take a look at the Great Wolf's HP bar. It is reduced by 50% because we did finish him off in the first two encounters. Otherwise, his health would be full. The goal here remains the same. We want to take out the Gravetender as quickly as possible, especially because this wolf, once he gets to about 60% HP, he is going to buff himself, and if the Gravetender is still alive, he'll also buff the Gravetender. We have him nearly dead, that unfortunate shoulder charge. Right now, the Great Wolf, he is only doing the moves that we've already seen him do before, so it should be nothing new. The Gravetender, on the other hand, he does have a few new moves. He's using a spell called Snap Freeze. We'll be getting that later today. He also has Soul Arrow. And the Great Wolf, once he is below a certain threshold, he is going to be using some new moves as well. We have one more poke yet. At this point, it's just a matter of baiting some attacks, trying to rush in when we can. And you can see here, I've hit the wolf too many times. And so now, with that howl, they are both buffed. You can actually see the aura around them, and the Great Wolf is now using this Frost Breath, and his charge attacks are a lot more lethal because he can do it sometimes 3 and even 4 times in rapid succession. Rolling a little bit too carelessly here. We still need to take care of that Gravetender because once he's down the Great Wolf, it's really not too terribly difficult. And there's the final poke. So now it's a matter of waiting for the right attacks. You can actually roll through that breath attack, and it's probably the preferred method because while you can somewhat block it, it is not 100% regardless of the shield you're using. Using the Javelin's weapon skill to pretty good effect. You can see that damage, 354 for a range attack, is pretty good. That was actually 455 because I hit him square in the head, so it did some critical damage. The breath attack for range attacks is one of the best ones that you can punish, unless you mistime your roll. Watch the dash attacks. Anytime that there's wind surrounding him, get ready to roll to the side. One more javelin throw, and the Great Wolf and the Gravetender are no more. We are rewarded with the Champion's Bones and Valor Heart. Now the Champion's Bones, this is something you actually burn at the Firelink Shrine bonfire, and it gives you access to the Undead matches. Now, if you've done the Ring City, or if you don't own this DLC and you only have the Ring City, you can get this from Lap's questline. Burn at Firelink Shrine to unlock Undead matches. Undead matches allow you to perform duels with another person, or you can participate in a brawl with 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, or a 4 or 6 player free-for-all. The charred but warm bones of a champion. Long ago, an undead declared a fight to celebrate their undeath, and to preserve what remained of their souls. So it was that the undead matches were born. The merit of an undead is measured in deaths. Could there be a greater gift for such a creature than a fight that has no end? But we also got the Valor Heart, the same weapon that the champion was using. This is a sword and shield combo, but it only takes one slot, even if you two-hand it and hold the shield in your left hand. This means that you can actually have an infused offhand weapon constantly giving you the buffs, such as something like Blessed or Simple. But the most interesting thing about this weapon is its skill, the Lion Stance. While you're holding the skill button down, if you do a light attack, you'll do a very long range thrust. If you do heavy, it does that shield bash and roar that you saw the champion doing, which is great for breaking guards. Also, if you are two-handing this weapon, many of the attacks have an automatic block applied to it, which means you will take reduced damage. With the champion and the Gravetender down, we're going to light this bonfire and we're going to return to the one that we lit previously, the depths of the painting, so we can continue on in the ashes of Ariandel. And now it's time to fight crabs. Again, I don't know why there are crabs here, but they also have this unique property where they can drop crystal gems. In fact, one of them has a guaranteed drop of a crystal gem. I say they, and I know you're only seeing one, but if we were to approach him now, a second one would break through the ice. So instead, I'm just going to use the rest of my great arrows just to do whatever damage I can. I guess saving one just for a rainy day. These crabs behave exactly like the ones in Farron Keep, with the exception of they use a frost breath attack. But when they rear up like this, it's still a great opportunity to get a free riposte. You can also stagger them into a riposte as well. We have one nearly done. There it is. We have no drops here. Keeping an eye on that Millwood Knight. We don't want his great arrows raining down on us. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like he has noticed us, so let's just approach close enough to get the other crab to spawn. And there he is. Backing up again because I don't want the Millwood Knight to see me. Taking needless damage there, just so I can show off the javelin yet some more. There is the rear attack. Great for punishing. Now it's just a matter of dodging those claws. Oh, I could have gotten another free riposte. That's okay, we nearly have him down anyway. There was the temper tantrum. There's the finish. We do get a guaranteed crystal gem, but he was kind enough to drop a second for us. I have no idea why the crabs down here are dropping gems, although, if I'm not mistaken, there's a crab in the catacombs of Karthus that drops a dark gem, correct? Or is it a deep gem? What's with crabs dropping gems? I don't know of any crabs in nature that actually harvest gems or collect them. Anyway, we have some more tree women here. We're gonna go ahead and set them on fire, finish them off. Get a couple of homeward bones, which once you grab those and you start to go through this area, you might think that homeward bones and using the bonfires are the only way out, but you're gonna see there is an alternative, a better alternative. Two tree women down. And remember I had said that there were 3 varieties. So far, we've only seen 2. The tree women like this, which just do the grab attacks or the breath attacks. We've seen the ones that have fire on their branches. And now we have the third. This is a unique variant that you only see in this one location. You can see just how different she is. Because while the other ones can very slowly move along the ground, she is actually almost completely mobile as long as she is bent down like this and can crawl. But she is still susceptible to fire just like the others, and it doesn't take much to take her out. And she was guarding Snap Freeze. This is one of the spells that we saw the Gravetender champion using. Snap Freeze is a sorcery. It requires 18 intelligence to use, and this produces a cloud of icy mist that causes frost to build up in your opponents, whether it's another enemy or another player. It is completely unaffected by your intelligence level, the staff you're using, or the spell adjust of the particular staff. The nice thing is, once you cast this, if you use any flame on the enemy that you're attacking, it resets the frost meter. In other words, a single cast of Snap Freeze could potentially proc Frostbite more than once. I am going to try and use this in the next episode. But once we have killed that final tree, you can see a ladder has appeared in the distance. This ladder holds the record for being the longest ladder in a Soulsborne game. I believe that VatiVidya referred to this ladder as Laddersmith Gilligan's dream. I'll just leave it at that. And this is a great time to point out the fact that I still haven't picked out a ladder song. We're nearing the end of everything possible in Dark Souls 3. I've already done Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and I don't have a ladder song. A few have been suggested, but none of them seem to fit. So instead, you just get to hear me babbling about how I don't have a song for this ladder. Enjoy. One letter down, one more to go. Fortunately, this one is not nearly as long. Does take a little bit longer when you miss the ladder entirely. Good job, Blue. But the reason you want to climb these ladders instead of simply warping out the bonfire is about to become very apparent. Did I say this ladder wasn't nearly as long? Because at the top of this second ladder, we get a Titanite slab. And we get to kill 2 more giant flies. Really, that's all the reward I need. When you drop down, be sure to turn around, because we do have a shriving stone on this corpse. We can see the bridge has been repaired. Looks like the bridge builders in the Ashes of Ariandel are hard at work. Hats off to them. Climbing up this ladder just so you can see exactly where we've come out. We have the ladder to the left, we have the bonfire straight ahead in that cave. So really the only way to progress is actually back down that small ladder so we can head towards the Corvian Settlement. Another crystal lizard off in the distance. I probably could have used the weapon skill here. Instead, I thought maybe just the regular attack would kill it. Not so much. So of course, poke right over it. Use a weapon skill. And finally we get to finish him off. I was hoping he'd just run off the edge. He drops for us a large Titanite shard. We can see a Farron Follower off in the distance. Do not be fooled to try and run up and get the backstab, because if you're too slow and you don't get those iframes, there is another follower hiding off to the left. This time with the saber. 2 javelin throws later though, he is done. And now we finally get to do a little bit more surfing. I haven't done this since the days of the Bed of Chaos. Before everyone comments, there is a soul item directly down and to the right from here. And I do forget it in this video. I'll be getting it at the start of the next. There is also a soul item I missed in the first episode. I will be going back to get that and I will show it on camera, but thank you to everyone who's been pointing that out. I do appreciate when I do miss stuff like that. Now we're going to enter one of the more disturbing places in Dark Souls 3. Because we have here what appears to be just a pool of rotted corpses. It kind of reminds me of the sewers from Bloodborne. But these are Corvian settlers with, I don't know what to call what's dragging behind them. I don't know if it's part of their placenta or if there's just guts hanging out. Most of these can just be run straight by. But behind this one, we do have 3 budding green blossoms. So if you don't want to kill these, I don't blame you. They're not quick enough and they don't do enough damage to really be of too much concern. We do have this one sewer centipede, however. Why this one is here, whereas the only other time we saw them was in Irithyll, I'm not really sure. But we do have just a few different varieties. I typically kill them. And I don't kill them for any good reason because they don't drop anything of importance. Here we have a dung pie. You can also get stock dung pies. But I think I really do it out of mercy, to be honest. There's something very depressing about these Corvians and how they're just undergoing this rot. And how most of the Corvians in the painting, they want us to show flame to the painter so we can actually set the fire ablaze and start fresh, whereas other individuals would like to see the rot continue and persist. But for me, I just have to put these out of their misery as much as I can. With them now silenced, we're going to make our way through this archway. Get screamed at, right on cue. Unnecessary javelin throw. We have a portcullis up and to our left. We'll be getting behind that in the next episode. But for now, we're going to fight a rather dangerous enemy. I have alluring skulls strictly for this enemy type. This is a Corvian Knight. There are two varieties. We'll only see one today. This one has these long talons, which can be very, very deadly because of how quickly they can attack. But they can be tricked using alluring skulls or even the oral decoy. They can also be a rapport to help you fight other enemies. Of course, backstab is an option. But these enemies also have another trick. And you're going to see it here, or at least you're going to hear it. When they start to drag those talons along the ground, you can hear me. When I attack them, I stagger them. And if you stagger them out of that particular animation, you can get a riposte immediately after. That was another opportunity for me to get that riposte, but he was kind enough to drop a sharp gem. We will be fighting them a couple more times in the next episode, and I'll try to show some other options instead of just using alluring skulls. A large soul of an unknown traveler, a couple more Corvian settlers. We can see that Colosseum in the distance. Might look very familiar to some of you who have played Dark Souls 1. Heading up this ladder and truly into the settlement. On this corpse, we do have an ember. And then inside this little alcove, we do have a friendly Corvian settler.
Oh, well, there is nothing forlorn about you. You must be the other Ash, I suppose.
If you answer that you are not Ash, it just ends the conversation a bit abruptly, but you can always talk to him again and say that you are Ash.
You have come. Oh, wondrous Ash, grant us our wish. Make the tales true, and burn this world away. My lady must see flame, and you have only to show her. You are Ash, are you not? Is it not fire that you seek? Surely you have seen the rot that afflicts our world, but that which fooled the good father and buried the flame, after we had all made up our minds too. So, please, grant us one wish. Make the tales true, and burn this world away. My lady must see flame, and you have only to show her.
The Corvian's plea is truly one of the most depressing in all of Dark Souls lore. All they want to do is to have their world, their existence burned away so it can start over because of the pain and the agony that they're going through. We will be returning to him once we've defeated Sister Friede. But that is going to do it for this episode of Everything Possible in Dark Souls 3. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please leave a comment below and let me know what you learned. And if I missed something, as always, leave that as well so we can all keep learning. But I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.